Hi folks, welcome to Give Me the Remote. This is episode
15.
And it's the
17th of September 2018.
I'm Sheridan and I'm joined by my cheery host, John.
Who does the details, it seems. Hello everybody. Okay, what are we talking about first?
Let's talk about Bojack Horseman. Season 5 has just dropped on Netflix.
And we have been binging it so we can bring it to you in this podcast.
I feel as though we may have binged too hard.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of... this is definitely like a repeat viewing show, so you can't really watch it while you're fiddling on your phone because there's a lot of... Visual gags, yeah. And a lot of... It's so far... The writing is so tight that the jokes come so fast that you do risk missing a lot. But that's good for rewatchability.
I think the jokes... I almost need to go back and watch BoJack Season 1 again just to try and calibrate how fast the jokes were coming at me in this season. It was insane.
So if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, BoJack Horseman Season 1 has like 64% or 60% or something.
Yeah.
And then every season since is like 100%, 100%, 97%. Ooh. Like they just really escalated from Season 1. But I have loved this show from Season 1. So for those who haven't watched it, it's about a...
We have reviewed it before.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we reviewed it as a whole. This is just reviewing Season 5.
Oh, okay. So it's about a horse who is
a
man horse. So basically, this world is populated by
anthropomorphic
animals and
humans. We did
he's
exactly this issue.
Washed-up TV star. Mm-hmm. So in this season, BoJack sort of gets like a, what would you call it, a comeback. Where he stars on a detective TV show. Yeah,
I mean, hilariously, it's being paid and streaming on a website. The website is just, what time is it? And they explain really on in the show. The joke is that every device anyone could watch this on actually has the time on it.
Yeah.
So it's just for people who are too stupid. And there are so many levels. And, I mean, right at the very end of the last episode, they make a Time's Up gag about time and also about gender and sex, and the idea that with all the jokes coming at you as quickly as they do in the show, that they ran a long gag over the whole season like that was just breathtaking.
Well, so I was doing some research for Season 5, which I managed to do in between binging this thing in like 2 days.
Yeah.
And apparently when they first started shooting's not the right word, but voicing the show, like it was in quite a fair way down the production line, the Harvey Weinstein thing hadn't happened.
Really?
Yeah, so apparently when it happened, they had to think about whether it would affect a lot of the storylines, and they ended up just changing only a few, which I assume the Time's Up gag.
It amazes me that they inserted that. They must be like, oh, this is great, we can knock this in.
But actually, that I think is actually a sign about how this show really does capture the zeitgeist so well. And there's other storylines in this show that haven't been in popular sort of media. Like the storyline with Todd and being an asexual and trying to navigate asexual dating, that is very of the moment. Like, sure, that is still quite a kind of non-mainstream discussion about how people with, queer kind of sexualities, so asexual people, how they navigate the world.
Yeah.
But this show actually deals with that, and it does actually address a lot of things that are very topical in our society right now, not necessarily the mainstream things.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, the show from its start, it's like everyone who reads the Wikipedia entry knows it's a show about depression. You can watch at least Season 1 and just think it's a show about dysfunction without realising it's a show about depression, but you're not getting that it's about depression. It doesn't take away from the fact that it is about depression,
and it still is about depression. I think it's definitely, that's its main theme.
But it's added so many more themes.
Well, this season they've really allowed all of the other characters to kind of come out a lot more.
There's
It's not
very
just
little
about
Bojack in this season. Yeah, although the probably 0.8 of a second of Bojack rutting in, I think, episode 2. I mean, that scars itself on you indelibly on your mind. There's a large horse filling your screen having sex. I mean, it's like, oh my god,
it's a bit weird. I will give you that.
But the depth of the jokes, and I don't pretend to have got all of them, but it's almost like this is the James Joyce Ulysses of animated comedy. The depth and complexity. I think people can be deconstructing this for 100 years. A tiny example is scene with this scene, and we've talked about how we don't like shows about making shows, or I don't like shows about making shows, and this season is a show about making a show, so damn it. But in the show, it's a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and just in a tiny corner, a little bird person flies, and they're wearing the blue and yellow of the Fallout franchise.
There's a lot of references.
Just so many tiny references coming so fast. You don't need to get them all. You're like, oh, there's a little thing floating around. That was just one reference that I got. And they come at you so. And there's grammar jokes. There's jokes on so many levels about so many things. And yet it's a dark, serious story just flooded with all these jokes at the same time. It's just a masterpiece of television making. It's astonishing.
There are some things that I hadn't really... Well, one thing that I hadn't realised when we watched it before, to be honest, I did not realise that Diane was... The
Vietnamese.
character Diane was meant to be, or is, half Vietnamese.
Sorry, Orwell's
Orwell
just
agrees. He's
yeah.
like, yep, I saw that. This is not cool. And voiced by Alison Brie, who's from Community and from Glow, that we reviewed last. So there are a lot of white voices playing all of the characters, which I hadn't really thought about. Mm-hmm. I did read an interview with the creator Raphael Bob Waxberg, who said that if he was doing it again, he wouldn't have cast them all, and apparently had cast an Asian voice actor to do Diane, but she couldn't continue due to some sort of scheduling conflict or something, so they recorded the voice.
I can't imagine Diane with any other voice. She's very good at. No, but she has done it.
But
well.
we do have to. I think there has to be an acknowledgement that is problematic. I think it's problematic. I also think that some of Orwell. See, he's like Orwell is woke as. He agrees.
He tried to hump you 2 months ago. Hang on a sec. Alright, dog crisis averted.
Okay, we're not even going to try and edit things anymore. We're just going straight.
People love that sense of...
the homey sort of feel.
Verite.
I also think, there is a very extensive Me Too. I'm not sure I quite like the hashtag that's been given to basically what is workplace sexual harassment. But anyway... that's another podcast. There's an extensive Me Too storyline, and I think for me, a bit of that Me Too storyline was about. I think there is a real issue with how you deal with these men that have done horrible but not criminal things, because that's a huge problem in the Me Too movement. And why a lot of men feel like it's a bit unfair for them. I disagree. But that is discussed and dealt with in this. But I felt like a lot of the Me Too was a bit of an excuse about why it was okay to be an arsehole if you've got depression.
Because I think they actually really probed that quite deeply.
And I'm a bit... I don't know where I sit with it.
And sort of had a real go at the Rick and Mortys of this world as well, with the way that Diane rejected the show they'd been making, because she was saying if it makes bad people feel justified in their being bad, then it's not worthwhile. I think that was a real self-aware nudge, and then trying to get to the idea that there aren't good people and there aren't bad people. There are people who do good or bad things, and I'm not quite sure if that's philosophically sound.
I guess actually talking this through now, it's not even actually... It's actually probably a compliment to the show, because the show is actually making you uncertain about how you feel. It's taking a complex issue and saying...
Presenting it complexly.
Yeah, it is. It presents it in a complex way and you don't know the answer. And that's what TV should be. Like, that's what good storytelling is.
I don't think Bojack Horseman's for everyone. I think Bojack Horseman is for everyone who is a regular listener of this podcast. 'Cause if you put up with us to this point, then come on board. And if you haven't watched Bojack, definitely watch Bojack. And you just haven't caught up with season 5, this is without a doubt in my mind the best season of Bojack Horseman.
Oh, and I mean the different narrative tools and structures that they use. Like, there is an entire episode of him giving a monologue at his mother's funeral. That is it. That's the episode.
Yeah. But it's always been willing to devote whole episodes to weird, obscure things. Somewhat similar to Aziz Ansari's Master of None, which annoys the hell out of me when they go off on a weirdo episode.
But
they don't do it as well. Bojack does it better.
Does it really good. I mean, that was such a poignant episode about basically a middle-aged man
with a monstrous gag
who's completely messed up and trying to deal with the fallout of having an abusive parent, which, you know...
Two abusive parents.
Yeah, two abusive parents. Which, who knew a cartoon horse could make you feel so...
Well, possibly only a cartoon horse can actually address that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you might be right.
And then make a joke about it not actually being the right funeral. But, spoilers, soz. Look, I think we've talked quite a lot about Bojack Season 5, which is good, particularly as we've also done a whole Bojack segment before. I'll say again, the depth and layering, and what was that joke that I just said we have to write that down?
While someone is deep in childbirth, she says, I'm as deep in contractions as an apostrophe.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is deep literary humour. And
actually said by quite a full-on hick, which was sort of made it funnier because...
Well, yeah, but there are segments of this season where it's just characters doing old school vaudeville jokes.
Yeah.
It does every level of humour and every style of humour appreciable, and it explodes it all at the same time.
Alright, how many stars?
5 stars for this season.
Yeah, I'm going to go 5 stars too.
Holy moly, double 5.
I think we gave it 5 stars for the
Bojack
review.
5. Alright.
What's next?
Follow this.
So this is a show about showing BuzzFeed journalists gathering stories while also telling you the story.
And the intro to this in the first episode is particularly weird because it's just totally stolen video. It's someone else's YouTube video of doing their AMSR routine, and it's
what is AMSR for people like me who didn't know this was a thing, and I wish I did because I could be a YouTube freaking millionaire by now.
Right.
But
I don't actually know what it stands for.
So basically, it's people making...
So, can I explain the opening scene of the show?
Okay.
Because there's a platinum blonde on an exquisitely lit set with huge blue eyes with the sparkles all lit into her eyes, and she's licking a microphone to create the sounds of AMSR.
Which I have to say, I was pretty much about to go, this is not for me, this show. I'm glad I didn't. Mm-hmm. Because I think this show actually is... I mean, they're 10 to 20 minute long episodes.
Yep.
And they cover some pretty interesting stories.
They go into some amazing stories in the most irritating way possible.
That's
BuzzFeed, big.
It sums up BuzzFeed. There's a lot of people... There's a lot of admittedly female journalists, which I have to give them credit for.
I think just one male journalist in the whole thing that I can recall.
Female journalists with nose rings, red lipstick, riding around bicycles in Amsterdam with, you know, blunt fringes and... Mm-hmm. You know, they're queer and they're all the things. They're not that there's anything wrong with that, obviously, but you know, it's they're on the they're of the left-leaning hipster bent. So you know, they're probably people I'd be friends with.
Oh come on, you'd like to be friends with them.
Oh God, I wish I was friends with these people. But there's some really good stories. There's some. There was a actually very well presented story on men's rights activists, which could have, to be fair, given the journalists that are involved, become a very biased thing, because obviously men's rights activists are all douchebags. But the story was presented in a much less biased way than I just presented it, and it actually tried to delve into why they exist and gave a pretty fair account of where men's rights activists come from, and tried to, I guess, explain their existence in an unbiased way.
Yeah, and I think to people who haven't been following the explosive growth of the manosphere, it does. It's a good intro. I think it was a beautiful piece of journalism to get the BuzzFeed journalist in front of the female MRA who had called her a four-letter word beginning with C that we can't even use in this podcast, to talk to each other. That was almost Frost Nixon-esque in its confrontation on camera.
And that's what's so frustrating about this show, though, because they actually are doing quite important journalism, but then they have these weird little outtakes where they're like on the street with their mobile talking to their editor about their next big lead, and it's all so fake and contrived and just sort of quite condescending.
Yeah, and look, I mean, not everyone in the audience has worked as a journalist, and so I'm going to let you in on something. I was thinking about this, watching this, and in 20 years working as a journalist, I never had a conversation like that with my editor. Generally how it works is you pitch a story, and then you write the story, and then you give the editor the story you've written. Now, sometimes, rarely, but sometimes your story will have gone in a very different direction when you actually talk to people, because that's good journalism to actually change your mind when the interview subjects give you different information. And then the editor might say, we need more quotes to support this part of it, or we need more to do that. What you don't do is just gas bag about the story on the phone.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're kind of trying to present this. It's actually kind of interesting in this world of, like, fake news. They're actually trying to present a show that says, this is how you journalist. Yeah. They're trying to show, this is how you make credible, reputable
There's a lot
news.
Of sitting on designer couches in designer dresses with notepads.
But they miss the mark a bit on it. It just becomes really, well, quite a bit, really quite contrived. But that I think is what they're trying to do. They're trying to show we actually make proper news.
Yeah, which is a bit of self-justification that just the fact, the amount of BuzzFeed letterhead that has to feature in a shot is outrageous.
I like the fact, though, it's not US-centric.
Yeah.
They actually go to, like, BuzzFeed Germany, UK, America. Like, they go to all of the BuzzFeed offices around the world. So you actually do get a different perspective. Like, there's a really interesting episode about intersex people, and that's done in Germany. And you get a really interesting perspective about how Germany is dealing with this quite significant, well, what I obviously think is human rights issue, but a significant health policy issue that's facing us today, and very different to America and how we deal with it.
There is an issue that there is a superficiality to how they cover things that I find problematic. For example, in the German one about the intersex community, the German intersex community is so strong and so vocal because within their lifetimes they've dealt with a government trying to exterminate them for being intersex.
Well, I mean, yeah, part of that story is actually about the fact that they said there was no, and I don't know how true this is, but there was a statement in there that there was no sort of male and female gender on your until the Third Reich, and that gendering people in such binary ways was the Third Reich.
I don't know the.
But I
haven't
don't
fact checked that.
I find that a little hard to believe.
Yeah, but they're saying that there's a push on now in Germany to actually recognise intersex as a third gender, and that's probably a great thing. And it's one of those classic things. Someone did a great analogy this week that I saw online where Because people are complaining, oh, there weren't any of these trans children until we told them it was okay to be trans, and it's like, yeah, and there weren't that many left-handed children until we stopped beating them for being left-handed. So yeah, when you stop punishing people for being who they are, suddenly the numbers and the statistics spike, but the correlation isn't the way around that assholes try to make it. Anyway, so there's a lot of food for thought in this. Not everything's bad, but it's just superficial. It doesn't cut as
Well, I mean,
deeply.
what do you expect, though, in 10 to 20 minutes? Like,
they could still cut deeper on a lot of things. The intersex stuff, they could have gone deeper into why the numbers are the way they are, or why people act the way they do. In particular, the Whores Day one, they talk about
which is
how
about prostitution,
sex workers and how
sex workers. Sorry.
In the US, they've recently basically made advertising of on sex work online much harder, and in particular driven the blacklists off the open internet, which is where sex workers can say this person
is violent or
is
doesn't
violent
pay
or doesn't pay, and this is ostensibly been to stop sex trafficking, and everyone thinks sex trafficking is a bad thing that shouldn't happen, but it's weirdly coincidental that in trying to stop sex trafficking, they've made it much harder for sex workers to protect themselves against abusive customers, who I would argue, with my cynical little mind, there might be a lot of lawmakers who want to make it harder for sex workers to organise against them. And I think that's an aspect that this thing just completely missed, that it probably should have actually taken a red hot shot at. But
10 to 20 minutes, though. I think it's a little unfair.
It's still annoying. It's like, oh, let's look at the journalist riding a bicycle down a lane.
That is annoying. I will give you that. And some of these stories, they're probably not going to change your life, but I think you will probably learn something different. Like, I learned some stuff. I didn't know about these people. We didn't actually end up explaining what ASMR is.
AMSR.
Oh. Which is basically noises.
Soothing noises.
Which I found out quite a number of people I know listen to these.
Oh, a lot of people I know listen to it, yeah.
It sounds sexual, but apparently it's not.
It's a near-orgasmic response, but...
no, but some people's brains react to it.
People like listening to it, yeah. People are listening to this podcast for much the same reason, I might add, but we're not licking the microphone, so...
Well, these people are getting like 1 million YouTube downloads a month. Like, we could only dream of this.
Well, if we were well-lit platinum blondes licking microphones, we'd...
But they don't even... Do they have to be on... Oh, I guess it's YouTube. They do have to be on TV. Yeah.
Oddly enough, the ones making all the money are on... Well, YouTube has a better monetization model, let's be fair to YouTube.
Okay. Anyway, so you'll probably learn something. You'll get annoyed. You'll be like, who is this generation millennials? They're idiots. Well, but they're also smart.
Why are they wearing red lipstick? Yeah, I do actually think it's worth watching, but I'm only going to give it 3 stars because it's
I'm only going to give it
annoying.
3 stars as well.
Ooh, agreement again. Woo!
And look, I even wrote it down before you said it, so it wasn't even a conspiracy. Okay,
now we're going to go off the rails and do something completely different.
We are.
So now we've got a special guest in the pod. We're joined by a guy who I met in another podcast back when the world was much younger and podcasts were new. His name is Leon Twardy. Hello, Leon.
My name's Twardy.
Twardy.
And it's great. And I like you too, and it's great to be here.
Okay. Good start, John.
Well, I did see you once in a festival program as Leon Tawdry.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah. I have no idea what that is, but that sounds quite amusing.
Yeah. Tawdry means like... how would you describe
cheap.
It? Yeah.
I've looked it up. It's sort of like trying to look glamorous, but looking a bit cheap and sort of failing in the whole thing.
And yes, now the reason we've got you in the podcast is last week we talked about Rake, which is a very rare thing, being an Australian show that's on Netflix. And then it turned out you have actually been on the current season 5 of the show.
I was an extra.
Yes.
Only for a few seconds, and as I said earlier, I'm very happy to leverage that for my current fame on your podcast.
Right. And free beers. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you found yourself on the set of Rake? And we'll go on from there.
Yes, I can, particularly as I wasn't 100% meant to be there.
Mm-hmm.
What had happened was the casting agency had put something up on, I think it was Facebook, only a couple of days before, maybe the day before, and I texted them, and they never texted me back.
Right.
And I spoke to my partner, Sally, who's quite supportive, and she said, well, you know what? Just turn up. So the agency had said, we need you for the next 2 days. I said, when exactly? Yeah, I'm up for it. Let's do it. And they never told me when to turn up or what the job was or anything. So I just turned up roughly. I figured the start of the day would be 8 a.m.
Yeah, right.
And I just sort of drove around until I found the site.
Yeah, right.
And I was incredibly nervous, and I walked past 3 times before I had the guts to actually walk into the set. Mm-hmm. And I went up to the busiest person there. Well, actually, no, the only person behind a desk.
Right.
Figuring, well, that'll be the person to talk to. Mm. And they were so offended that an extra would talk. They didn't even... They looked at me with this sort of like horrified look, like I'd just done a poo in the floor in front of them, and then sort of turned to their offsider, who then turned to me and said, please speak to the person in charge of extras over there.
Yeah, right.
And I went there, and they're like, we have no record of you. Like, look, I don't know what's going on exactly. Go get your costume sorted out. And so I got because the thing is, I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what the role was. It was to be a senator. Ooh. And I turned up there looking like this, but more so.
Okay, not that helpful to our audio audience. But I mean, you're
not a senator.
You're wearing a nice button shirt. You've got quite long hair, a very fashionable beard.
Bit more hipster.
Senator?
Bit more hipster than senator.
You're hipster than senator, but in a suit, I imagine you'd pull off the role.
Ah, you'd think so. No, I went. I got the suit, and they put me to the hair and makeup. And this conversation, the first person sort of took a look at me and signaled someone else to take the job. And then they got the head of the hair and makeup to come over. And then that person had this discussion where they went, yeah, no. Can I swear?
Yeah.
No, it really is. It is a shit beard. But some people have shit beards.
Richard Roxburgh's beard is very ratty, but...
and
Derek Hinch's beard is not great either, but...
And about that stage, so like, yeah, no, we'll send him in. And about that stage, someone said, look, they're about to start filming. What's going on? Because I haven't told you this. I turned up an hour too late.
Right.
Which meant everyone else who was there on time and had done the correct things had filled in the room. And the only space that was spare was next to Richard Roxburgh.
Yeah, right.
So I got the best seat.
Yeah.
Other than his, I suppose. And
yeah, because I mean, you've appeared in a couple of episodes that we've seen in season 5.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you're in the one before and the one this week.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
You'd think all the extras would be clamouring to get next to Richard Roxburgh.
Yeah, no, it was... Yes, correct. They were not sitting next to him because they'd been specifically told.
Oh.
Yeah, it was sort of like...
Fill the chamber. Yeah, right.
Fill the chamber, starting from the other end. You know.
Who is this guy coming in late?
Yeah. And
coming in late, you must have been someone important, mate.
Right? And I made a joke that made him laugh. Mm-hmm. And then the director ran over.
Him being Richard Roxburgh.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't actually know his name. Richard Roxburgh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the director ran over and was like, "Yes, what's happening? What is it, Richard? What's?" He's like, Richard, who, as you said, is very charming, and you're totally correct, and it was suddenly very meek. Went, he told a joke, and the director was like, yes. And I was like, yes, I was thinking that this following line would be appropriate to be said at that moment. And I told them it very awkwardly, and they were just like, thank you. No. Thank you. No, don't do that. Shh.
Breaking Richard's character.
So even Richard Roxburgh is terrified of the production team. Is that where we're getting to?
I think that it's actually, if you are a actor who any director wants to work with ever, you respect directors.
Yeah.
I think that's just how that works.
Yeah, right.
He wasn't terrified. He was just appropriately polite. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, right.
Just like, you're the woman who's making this happen. I'm cool.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So, how long was the whole chamber shoot? Because they seem to be using bits of it across the season.
I'm not entirely sure, because they needed senators for 2 days, so that would suggest 2 days of shooting. Mm-hmm. But because I was going to be recognisable, that meant they would only use me for 1 day. So for the other people who just needed to be not as visible, then the continuity continuity of it
Continuity,
didn't
yeah.
matter as much.
Okay.
So it was a full day of shooting for the stuff that I'm in.
Yeah, right.
Plus about 3 hours of waiting, maybe 4 hours of waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, right. So 3 hours with the actual cameras rolling, or?
Oh no! So I was there from 8 in the morning till about 6.
Yep.
So there were 2 different production teams, like teams of directors that came in as
right.
well, which was interesting. And so that would have been about. I reckon that I was in the room with like cameras and stuff for about 5 hours. I'd say.
Right.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like they were wasting time either.
Mm-hmm.
It did feel like that was just how long it took. It was a bit funny because you know when you're doing things with a group of people,
Yeah.
if someone's got a definite idea and they just get it done, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But towards the end of the day, as people were getting a little bit fatigued, it became a lot more like, try it this way or maybe that way. Oh, no, we didn't do it. And it just started...
Dragging a bit.
Yeah, so the actual efficiency dropped off a lot as the day went on.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the bits that I've seen of you on the screen, you're really getting the gestures in there. Is is that something you were given direction on, or were you just extemporizing as the scenes went on?
Oh, that's really the conflict, isn't it? It's like the extra who was just going to make the most of their screen time is not what you want an extra to be.
No.
That's why when I was like, I've thought of a funny thing to say, they were just like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
The funny thing was, the people who were there on time were told to not have mobile phones because obviously you're being an actor, don't mess around on your phone.
Although parliamentarians do mess around on their phones.
That's what the director said. So when I got in there and the director was like, now look, and like someone in the back, they're like, you're going to be directors. And then someone sort of came up to them and mentioned something. And they said, yeah, good point. In fact, you're right. I saw some Question Time the other day. They're just sitting there on their phones. They don't give a damn. Be like that. And so I just sat there on my phone, just texting people.
There was a really awkward period, and I say this as someone who worked in Parliament House for a while, as I've been said too often, where laptops were the only way to really be online, so they were all sitting there with laptops on their
they would have
desks.
been really big back then too.
Yeah, big clunky laptops, and now they're all just on their phones, Screw Scott. It's not over.
I don't know enough about Parliament, and I'm still shocked when I see a speech given and there's no one else there.
Yeah.
That's just for the Hansard reporter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but getting back to Rake, so you were mugging it for the cameras a bit, and the director seems to have tolerated it to the point you haven't been cut.
Actually, she gave me a microphone so that I could do a verbal eye roll.
A verbal eye roll,
A
is it?
verbal eye roll. I don't know. I don't think
do one now?
I don't think they included it.
Oh, hey!
So you almost got a talking bit.
There you go. Listeners, a genuine verbal
You
eye
almost got a
roll.
line.
It's so weird because it's actually like, do you know that with these extras, there's these people who they do it professionally, like that's their job.
Yeah, right.
So like half the people there were these full-time extras.
Yeah, wow.
Have they bust them in from Sydney, I assume? Or?
Yeah. A lot of them were like, "Oh, come down from Sydney because I'm an extra, so I go to where the work is. Now tomorrow I'll have some work in Sydney." I had no idea there was such a thing.
Where did they put them up? I mean, did someone pay for their hotels, or did they pay for that themselves?
You have literally no idea.
So
I'm
you
sorry.
didn't go to the rap party?
No.
Okay.
I even got a parking fine, man.
Yeah, you got
Really?
Okay, so this is the thing. When I told you about that agency who told me that, we don't need you, have I already told this part of the story?
Yeah.
Halfway through the day?
No, I haven't
no.
heard that. Yeah.
Okay, so halfway through the day, I'm there pretending to be a senator playing on my phone.
I was going to ask if you actually got paid, but we'll get to that.
Oh, I'll do. Yeah, so I'm there playing on my phone, sending texts to my mum, being like,
I'm on Rake!
and yeah, it was fun to pretend to be just really smug sitting there. But then I got a text from the agency casting people saying, "Sorry, we didn't get back to you sooner. We don't need you today."
And you're sitting there in makeup and hair,
with
and,
like a microphone, which is like for an extra, it's like a status thing. Like,
Yeah,
if you get a microphone,
you're almost an
that's
actor.
like next. Oh, brutal! And I texted back and was like, well, actually, this is the situation. I'm in Old Parliament House. We're being filmed now. I'm sitting next to frickin' Richard. And
do you want me to take the mic off and go?
to which they replied without nothing in between. They immediately replied, Oh, don't forget our cut. Which is just astounding. Oh my god. To which I...
This story is so much better than I thought it would be.
To which I replied, cool, I got a parking ticket.
You paid that.
They were like, don't be ridiculous. No.
I think you should have taken 10% out of the parking ticket.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, can I ask, are they 10%ers, 20%ers, 5%ers?
Oh, I didn't pay attention. 15 would be my guess.
15? Okay.
I really didn't pay attention. Sorry.
Okay. So having just rocked up and lucked yourself next to Richard and got yourself in trouble with your jokes and getting mic'd up, did you actually get paid at the end of this process?
Yeah, I did. I think it was only... Because the parking ticket was pretty heavy. I really parked just where I wasn't meant to be. Mm-hmm. Walked into the
You're lucky they didn't blow your car up in that part of town.
True. So I think in the end of the day, it was like... maybe I only got like $50 profit out of that. But I had a great time. Like, honestly. I really had a great time.
Podcast now. So.
Yeah.
So have you done extra work
Everyone's
before?
famous in Canberra. No, I've done an ad for Transact, which was because the person doing the casting liked my moustache, and they were really explicit about that.
So for the audience's point of view, Transact was a local internet service provider. Right.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the pub, and he came up to me and said, "Hey, Leon, do you want to be in this ad? By the way, it's just because I like your moustache." And I laughed it off. He said, No, really. I had someone who I wanted. It really is just your moustache." And
And when we say the pub, are we talking about the Phoenix here?
Yeah, but I don't like them anymore. They banned me, and I'm really upset about it.
Oh, you're another one of them banned from the Phoenix.
Super unfair, super disgruntled. The Phoenix was a hub of social arts and so forth. Mm-hmm. I'm very bummed out about it, and I think it's very unfair, and I bore you all senseless.
We'll discuss that off mic. So, how long ago was the shooting of Rake that you were in?
A few months ago. The reason I enjoyed it so much is because I was in the horrible situation of taking someone to court, getting a personal protection order, which is a horrible experience. It sucks. Mm-hmm. And so I was doing that, and then just getting... I find a little bit of escapism is quite good for one's mental sort of welfare. And so just spending a day where all I had to do was pretend to be a smug senator was just lovely. And so, it was about 6 months ago. Yeah, okay.
So being an extra is like really cheap therapy.
I thought so. And they feed you.
Oh, was the food good?
Food was so good.
Yeah, right.
Except when I turned up, because it was the early morning, and I wanted to have a coffee, and I went up to the coffee machine where someone was there to work the coffee machine. They were just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is not for extras."
How can you not give extras coffee? That sounds really cool.
Oh, no, they did. It's just not from the coffee machine.
Oh, you got
the instant satchels with the
roast.
kettle. Yeah, which I drank, and I was happy to drink.
Yeah.
Take what I can get.
But still, is this egalitarian Australia? I mean, really, get someone to work the pod machine, they should be making coffee for everyone.
And then it was a bit like the proper big name actors, and I'm really embarrassed about this, but I don't really know actors' names. What's the name from the lady from Kath and Kim who's wonderful, who was on that show?
You're talking about Jane Kennedy? Or...
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not Jane. Is that
She's in Rake, doing the Ripple thing.
Kath's the other senator, the independent senator.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about, but let's just move on.
Oh, we're all embarrassed.
Yeah,
we are, because she's like one of Australia's most loved.
She's an absolute icon, and I was beside myself to be in the same room as her, even though I don't know her name. Just make that really explicit. Mm-hmm. She's wonderful. I've forgotten what I was talking about. Oh yeah, no, they get their own cabin. You know, that thing that actually happens.
Oh, they got trailers.
Yeah, they got trailers. Yeah.
Parked all around Parliament House.
Yeah,
Not attracting parking fines, unlike your car.
And the extras didn't even get shade in between the shots.
Oh. How much shade do you need in the Senate?
Well, no, because in between the shots, somehow, because of the logistics of this, we all spent about 3 hours in a car park. Right. Like, just sort of, just put them there for now.
Okay.
We don't need them.
Yeah, right.
But don't go anywhere in case we do.
See, I once was at a Japanese music festival where they were marshalling the volunteers, and they made the volunteers stand in neat rows in the sun for 4 hours. And I was,
Oh my God.
I was sitting in the shade with a beer in hand the whole time, just watching these volunteers slowly pass out, thinking they really shouldn't make them stand in the sun.
Jesus. They did give us a pergola after a while.
Okay, right. Actually,
Because that's pretty brutal in the Australian sun.
Pagoda. Yeah.
Yeah.
that would have been autumn, I guess, when you were shooting this.
Must have been.
Yeah, okay.
Still t-shirt weather, so early autumn.
Mm-hmm. But not great to stand in the sun for protracted periods of time then.
No, it was enough to be uncomfortable.
Hmm.
But anyway.
Okay. Are there any other observations from the life of a international Netflix extra that you'd like to share?
I made a joke to the Kath and Kim woman, and she didn't laugh, but she was really polite about it, and I just thought that was really good of her, and I felt honoured for the exchange.
Yeah, right. I really wish we could remember her name.
Really bad, isn't it?
We're gonna have to. This is really bad.
Yeah, we'll put her in a cut later in this podcast.
No, there is. There's a final end to this story.
Okay.
Which is because this is Canberra, where we have Parliament House just down the road. There's a significantly senior federal politician who was in the same room as me when I got to see me doing Rake.
Right.
And that was that was just I don't know, that was pretty amusing, to be honest with you.
So the federal police were coming to watch the televised proceedings.
No, bizarrely through my I was just happened to be with the politician after hours, them relaxing in their house, and I coincidentally happened to be there through some bizarre thing, and I was very starstruck, but then at the same time was like, okay, yeah, it's amazing that you're a famous person, but also I'm on the TV now.
I'm on Rake, yeah.
What did they think of your performance?
They said specifically that I had a future, but they wouldn't corral me into saying if that future was in politics or acting, or just in general.
Yeah, well, we've all got futures. We just might not like them very much. All right. Well, look. Thank you so much, Leon, for coming in and adding something quite special to this podcast. So, folks, we haven't given the best raps on Rake Season 5, but if you've enjoyed listening to Leon, I definitely recommend looking for the... how would you describe yourself? I'd say they still left you with pretty cool hair and a beard. You're just wearing a suit sitting next to Richard Roxburgh.
Yeah. Smug laughing Senator number 4.
Okay. Nice one.
Alright, folks. Well, that's the end of episode
15.
And we just want to say thanks to our special guest, Leon. We've never had a real life actor on the podcast.
He's not even extra, for God's sake. He doesn't even get coffee.
He does get coffee. It's international roast. Alright, so we'll be a little delayed next week because we're going to a wedding.
In Lismore.
But...
So there'll be a lot of dope.
I don't think it's that kind of wedding, honey.
It's in Lismore.
But we'll be able to watch TV shows on the plane. So more plane movies for us to review.
Yes. Okay, and as always, if you would like us to review a show, email us at gmtrpodcast@gmail.com or comment on the social medias that we do. That's the Facebook and the Twits, and I think there might even be a comment function on the LibSyn website that we host this on. So knock yourselves out. Give us both barrels as needed. And thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. Or hear you again. You'll hear us. Good stuff.